My Lords, on behalf of the whole House, I pay tribute to the noble and learned Lord Denning, who reached the great age of 100 last Saturday. Born on the 23rd of January 1899, he was educated at Andover Grammar School and Magdalen, Oxford. He saw service on the Western Front in France from 1917 to 1918. He was called to the bar in 1921, took silk in 1938, became a High Court judge in 1946 at the age of 45, went to the Court of Appeal in 1949, to this House in 1957, and in 1962 became Master of the Rolls, an office he occupied for 20 years till 1982, when he resigned in his 84th year. He was appointed by Her Majesty to the Order of Merit in November 1997, in succession to Sir Isaiah Berlin. Only one other lawyer this century has been similarly honoured, my distinguished predecessor, Viscount Haldane. Lord Denning ranks in distinction with the greatest judges this century in the common law world, with Lord Ackner, Lord Reed, and Lord Devlin in the United Kingdom, with Oliver Wendell Holmes, Benjamin Cardozo, and Felix Frankfurter in the United States, with Owen Dixon in Australia. His contribution to the development of the law in this country has been vast. He is a lawyer of massive intellect, erudition, and imagination. True, there were some maverick decisions, but when he adopted an unorthodox line, as he often did, he was frequently vindicated by later decisions or even statute. Throughout his long public service as a judge, he displayed an acute sense of justice as a moral value, of law as the protector of the rights of the little man. He was in the van in the post-war development of administrative law. Government's discretionary powers were to be exercised within the framework of the rule of law. The individual's rights were not to be overridden at the whim of those in authority. He invented the concept of the deserted wife's equity in the matrimonial home. In commercial law, he was ahead of the field in appreciating that the law should impose liability for negligent misstatements where the maker assumed responsibility for their accuracy. Whole new doctrines, now accepted, were developed by him. Almost single-handedly, he invented the concept of a prejudgment court order to prevent defendants dissipating their assets before judgment could be given against them. Throughout most of his career, he was probably the only judge of whom the mass of the population had ever heard. His judgments were models of lucidity. He wrote in simple, pungent prose which anyone could understand. He humanized the law and freed it from anachronistic precedents. He was an evangelist without equal for the common law throughout the Commonwealth. He was also a model of how a judge should behave, unfailingly courteous, understanding, and expressing counsel's arguments better than they could themselves. I have an abiding memory of Lord Denning's kindness to litigants in person in his Court of Appeal. Most of the time he had to turn them down, but they always left feeling they'd had a fair hearing and therefore justice. Lord Denning is one of the greatest living Englishmen, and on behalf of the whole House, I salute him today.
Essentially on the basis of alphabetical merit, I rise to associate the judges with everything my noble and learned friend has said. The senior law lord and his colleagues is hard at work, and accordingly they are not here to reply. My lords, having reached the age of anecdotage, I wonder if your lordships will allow me one short story about Lord Denning. The Canadian Bar Association used to invite a judge to their excellent annual get-togethers, and I was one who was so invited. Some years later, I was told that a number of very, very young Canadian lawyers were visiting the high spots of Europe and wanted, no doubt for good fiscal reasons, to have a serious party. I laid on a garden party in the Middle Temple, and the judges who attended that party were all who had been guests of the Canadian Bar Association. Tom Denning had been several times. One very, very young Canadian lawyer pulled me by the sleeve and said, "Is that Lord Denning?" And I said, "Yes, that's Lord Denning." "Gee," he confided in me, "do you know, we still read his father's judgments." I repressed saying that perhaps the father is more reliable than the son. Lord, I therefore join with all the judges who last Friday wished Lord Denning many, many happy returns.
The Lord Cadman.
I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.